Hello, Marielle here with Romanced by the Book. Um, our lovely Megan is out this week, but we are still doing our first recap of The Wolf and the Wildflower by Stacy Reid. This is chapters 1 through 5, and it's super fun. This book is bananas in the best way, kind of like an old school romance vibe. So we start off with a prologue. Miss Miranda Southby is giving birth. It sucks. Her doctor told her to hold off on more babies after she had a difficult first pregnancy slash birth. But her husband needs, like in all caps, needs a male child for legacy purposes. Um, when the baby's born, Mrs. Sotheby asks the midwife, "Is it a boy?" Question mark. But the Viscount daddy hears the cry, comes in right at that moment, and he does not hear the question mark. So he's super excited that he has his boy, and he runs off to celebrate, leaving his wife and the midwife questioning, like, should we tell him? And what they decide is to call the baby Jules. Um, and because Mrs. Sotheby is like, I can't be pregnant again right away. And obviously, my husband is going to want to have a boy. They decide we're going to call this baby Jules. We're going to find a good time to tell the Viscount later after mom has recovered from her delivery and also when it's a better time. And cut to 23 years later, there was never a good time to tell dad that he doesn't actually have a son. So Jules has grown up as a boy, man. He's now 23 years old, has just returned from university, and is now assisting the Viscount in his psych practice. Um, this is like a new type of medicine, and so they are working together on this. Meanwhile, James, the long lost Duke of Wulverton, has been found in the Yukon in Canada. Um, I'm Canadian, so I'm very excited to see the Yukon represented. That it is the tundra, like uh, the northwest of of Canada, above the Arctic Circle, and he has been up there for more than 10 years. His mom wants a professional to come and help the Duke get back to normal, aka like who he was before he spent 10 years in the wilderness alone. He currently doesn't really speak to anyone. Like he can speak, but he just doesn't talk very much, doesn't want to be touched. Mom is worried that his mental state is not okay. The queen also needs reassurances, or she might take the duchy from their family, which would be a problem. So the Viscount agrees to take the case. Jules will come along to help. And because she's already feeling pretty impressed by a man who could survive by himself in such difficult circumstances for such a long time, she's pretty excited to be going. Before they leave, Jules talks to mom about maybe revealing that she is a woman to her dad, but it's not a good time as is it ever? Anyway, mom gets nervous. Jules also thinks about all the benefits of living as a man, all the freedoms that she has, so she lets it go. When they get to the Duke's house, well, in the meantime, at the Duke's house, his whole family is there. It's 15 people. It's so many people, all kind of whispering about him, and worrying that he is a savage and not fit for society. Unfortunately, James has excellent hearing, and so he knows everything they're trying to not tell him. It's annoying. He just wants to go back into the forest that surrounds their property to get away, but it makes his mom sad and he doesn't want to hurt her feelings, so he kind of hangs around regardless. Mom tells him that he has to be ready to attend their ball that's coming up in about a month. They want him to find a wife, very important. He says that they should just postpone this because he is like not ready. But mom says that this like invitations already went out. Sorry, it's happening. Um, in the meantime, the Viscount doesn't trust the train. So he and Jules take the coach, which is slower, to get to the Duke's house. Jules has time to wonder if she should tell her dad that she's not a man, but worries that he won't love her as much. She also has been reading up on like the newspapers and the scandal sheets and is kind of disgusted by the way people are so curious about the Duke, but mostly seem to just kind of want to see him and see if he acts like a beast and see if he like can talk, which is kind of gross to her. And honestly, it's kind of gross. Um, Anyway, when they meet the Duke, he is aloof, but Jules thinks that he seems intelligent and cunning and aware of his surroundings. The Duke seems interested only in Jules, asks how old he is, offers the only chair in the room, and when she trips, he catches her and he sniffs her, like thoroughly sniffs all up in her neck, and she's feeling some things, but also she's like, okay, well, let me go. The Duchess and the Viscount are kind of scandalized, but Jules keeps her cool, and Wulverton, who is the Duke, that's his title, kicks everyone out except for Jules because they need to have a chat. Turns out not only did James clock Jules as being in disguise, but his sense of smell is so good that he could figure out every component of her scent, like her perfume or cologne or whatever she's wearing. He knows every flower and every like tree, piece of wood that was in that scent. And also he smells some smell that is unique to women. He's only had one lover before, but he knows that there is an underlying woman smell there. And he finds Jules very interesting, not just because she's a woman, but also because she's so like unflappable. It tells her she smells like all the wildflowers and that she knows she's hiding who she really is. Jules doesn't confirm or deny. Um, and yeah, James is worried about his interest in her, but he only wants to work with Jules. So Jules agrees to get some information from James, um, for like her dad, but he only really tells her a little bit. He plans to present himself in whatever way is acceptable for society so he can like appease his family and go on with his business, but it's only going to be an act. The Duchess tells the Sotheby's that Wulverton needs to be ready for her house party slash ball. She wants him to meet people, and especially women, and get used to society before they go to London. It is not enough time, but that's all the time they're going to get. So the Viscount asks Jules if she's all right because she seems out of sorts, and Jules tries to act normal, but later she asks the maid to move all her stuff to the Duke's wing so she can observe him. Um, she says, "Don't tell anybody. I will tell the Duchess myself." I have doubts that she's going to tell the Duchess anything, but anyway, it means that she and the Duke are the only two people in that wing of the house. Later that night, Jules sneaks into the Duke's bedroom while he's out. She sees a gorgeous painting, that is probably of the Yukon, and also how like spare his furnishings are. She feels kind of bad invading his space, but it's the only way she's gonna be able to learn about him. And she sees that he kind of has a very lonely existence, or that's how she feels anyway. As she's exploring, James comes back. He's naked. He's completely naked, and she tries not to look too much. Anyway, it seems like he might know that she's there. He like takes a deep breath and looks around and seems to look right at her, but he doesn't call her out, and so she stays very still. And after he goes to bed, she crawls out of the room. The Sotheby's get no time with the Duke after that for 3 days. And then at dinner one day, James doesn't eat much, which the family comments on, and he decides to just kind of leave them to it. The Viscount and Jules follow him out. Jules tells her dad he is not going to like us spying on him like this, but the dad is adamant that they need to observe him for science. And Wulverton, of course, catches them and tells them that he doesn't owe them the experiences of his past and that they can leave. So Jules asks for forgiveness and offers an exchange of truths, which Wulverton is interested in. He takes her up on her offer, and they walk into the forest where James has built a kind of treehouse. His 12-year-old valet brings a pheasant so that they can have for dinner. And so turns out that James has told his mom that he doesn't like the rich foods that they eat anymore, but she insists on serving it because it would be ghastly for him to just have like pheasant and potatoes. So he just goes out there in the forest and hunts for his food and cooks it out there. Um, the Duke calls Jules Wildflower because wildflowers are resilient and determined and grow in unexpected places. And she calls him Wolf. And then James tells Jules that he likes the stillness. He liked the stillness of his time in the wilderness. And it's kind of sad that he doesn't have that anymore. He has a lot of expectations on him now. There's a lot of noise. He asks Jules to call him James, which is hard for her to do at first. They chat while they eat. James cooks the pheasant that he had hunted earlier out there, and then James tells Jules that she can smell him if she wants, and she is like, "Oh no, this is a terrible idea." However, she does lean in and sniff him anyway, and that's the end of chapter 5. Hit like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss chapters 6 through 11, which are coming up next week. And we will be doing recaps every Saturday for the first 3 Saturdays of April. And then the last Saturday of the month, we will be talking with Beth Gabriel from Bee and Her Books. So come back for all that. And also Megan, because Megan will be back as well. Thanks. Bye.